I've come to kind of realize if your movie is good and it has Mark Wahlberg as a star, like, you're a good director because you're making him look good. Like, there's so many movies where it's like he is so hit or miss.
Yeah, he is gonna be Mark Wahlberg, and you have to use him correctly. Because it'll come off as really bad, like The Happening, or you can get Boogie Nights or The Fighter or The Departed, like, out of him.
Well, that's why like I'm so like pissed off like with Uncharted. It's just like he was cast as Sully, and it's just like he's not Sully. He's just Mark Wahlberg in this movie, and I'm like, ugh, why?
Welcome to Idiot Plot, a comedic podcast critiquing, discussing, and analyzing the media industry through reviews, debates, and historical deep dives.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Idiot Plot. I am not David Yanish. David is absent this week in an undisclosed location, but joining me, as always, is Justin Neitzel.
Will you teach me the football?
And today, without my quote, you might not have gotten the gist, but we will be talking about sports movies, which was Justin's idea. So, Justin, why don't you take it away? Tell us what you were thinking here.
Well, I was thinking since we're in the middle of NFL football season, which is going great. And the NBA just started up. Baseball just finished. I was like, well, you know what? Why don't we talk about some good sports movies?
Yeah, so honestly, I mean, like, for me, like, with sports movies, everybody thinks of like the traditional like inspirational ones, but there's really a lot of variety here, and we'll get into all of that, kind of all the different, not just the different sports, but like kind of the different types and like what makes a sports movie great.
Before we get to that, we wanted to bring up the current bet between Alex and David, which is which movie will make more money in the box office wise, Dune or Tenet. You gotta be feeling pretty good right now. You're only down about less than 10 million or so.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna make it. And the official numbers right now, of course, the number to beat is Tenet, which has 363.7 million, and right now Dune is at 353.8. So I'm almost there. If David was here, he would be sweating right now.
Yeah, it's good. Like we said, it's gonna be a photo finish. And after last time we were talking, I was like, I'm not sure you're gonna make it. And then all of a sudden, it's like we just checked.
I did not think I was gonna make it. After last time, I really did not think I was gonna make it. I thought I was screwed. I was already looking up how I'm gonna watch The Wall.
But no, it's gonna be a photo finish, and it's gonna be really. Is there anything coming out that could possibly derail this? Because even a Marvel movie like The Eternals didn't derail you too much.
Right, like that was still like top of the box office the past 2 weeks, but it hasn't like knocked Dune off completely. People are still going to see Dune, and there's really not a big blockbuster coming out really in the foreseeable future. The next I can possibly think of that could make money is West Side Story, and that's December 10th.
Yeah, because I think House of Gucci, while I'm excited to see it, I don't think it'll do much in theaters.
Yeah, it could do okay, but it's not going to be, I would agree, it's not going to be like a Dune or MCU level like box office hit. It's not going to make like 400-500 million.
Maybe Encanto, I think that's the Disney movie, maybe, just because you could take your kids to the theater.
Right.
But yeah, not seeing anything that really like big box office thing that'll steal from it. Because like you said, West Side Story doesn't come till December 10th, and Spider-Man's No Way Home is not till December 17th. So I mean, you got another maybe 3 weeks of you could probably pull it off.
I just need 10 million more. If I have to, I'll start renting out theaters.
Just going every day. Like, I'm here to see. Haven't you been here like 10 times already? Real good movie. It's a great movie, and I'm just here so I don't have to watch The Wall. Well, honestly, more, I just want someone else to have to watch Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3 Viva La Fiesta. That's really more what I'm going for. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
So I think we'll be doing a dive into Beverly Hills Chihuahua 3 Viva La Fiesta in the near future, fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's going to be close. And this is going to be fun. I didn't think it'd be that much fun last time, but now it's like got really close. It's like you're down at halftime, down 14 points, and then all of a sudden you're like slowly coming back.
28-3 lead.
Ooh, sorry for all Falcons fans. I know that causes a lot of painful memories.
It's okay. They've had it happen another like 6 times since then. At least you're not Lions fans.
The meme's not funny, guys. Yeah, it is.
It will never not be funny. So with that, I think, the natural progression, since we've already kind of alluded to football now, is to talk about football movies, which have a very long tradition. I think there have been, as far as the sports movies, I think football movies probably have in the U.S. the most number of movies.
Probably.
I think, there's been a lot of baseball ones that have been very successful as well, but I feel like, especially in like the 2000s, you just saw, so many football movies.
I'd put boxing up there too.
Yeah, that's another. I feel like boxing has the most like high profile classic movies, but I think football has like the most movies probably.
Yeah, probably. Because it's just like, there's always, I only say boxing because it's like, there's always that trailer. It's like, the underdog boxing guy. I'm like, haven't I seen this movie before?
Oh, yeah. Like, you're just trying to make, like, what was the one? There's the one with Jake Gyllenhaal that Eminem did the soundtrack for.
Yeah.
And Southpaw.
Southpaw, you're right.
Yeah.
Then there was the one with Miles Teller.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
But anyways, football. I think, for me, one of my favorite football movies that I pretty much watch every year, but right before NFL season, is Remember the Titans.
Yeah, honestly, that's the first, like, when I think football movie, that's the first one that came to mind.
What's amazing about this movie is, like, how well it does, like, the football, and reading up about it, it's just, like, the director chose certain music to be played during highlights so that people would know that they were winning because of the fast-paced music or whatever.
Yeah, I honestly never thought about that, but thinking about those scenes now, like, the score does a good job of, like, indicating the tension. And, like, with football, a lot of football movies, this one definitely nails the inspirational stuff in, like, a way that feels genuine. But I think also, like, with what's rare for football movies, there's another one I'll get to later that does this, but, like, it actually gets, like, the sport right in terms of, like, not every single game ends with a game-winning touchdown at the very end.
Yeah.
Like, it actually, like, you have, like, the one mud game that's, like, low scoring. You have that ends on the defensive play. Like, you kind of have, like,
I remember
it actually shows the sport.
I remember playing in a mud game when I was in high school. I remember, like, the field just reeked horribly.
Yeah, I had one. Yeah, it was like 40 and raining, and like it's just like miserable, but it's like fun in like its own way. I
have a real fun story about Remember the Titans though. Like my first year in college, I was just walking down the hall of my dorm room with a buddy of mine, and also we walked by this room like a couple doors down. The guy was him and his roommate were watching the Remember the Titans. And we're like, hey, can we watch with you guys? Like, sure, come on in. And we all had like the same comment. It's like, this movie's so great. Just like, imagine if Disney didn't own the rights so that you could go a little darker with some of the material because it's based on two segregated schools coming together and having to put past their prejudice and work together to be a good football team.
Yeah, I think the balance works. I think modern Disney, I feel like, would not handle it as well. I feel like then like they captured the issue and it was very inspirational. But I do agree, like it is a true story, and like some of the things that happened were even darker. So I'm like, I do wonder what it would look like if like they focus more on that part as well.
That, and I think Denzel Washington does a great job. Just like he's always stoic in front of everybody, but just like when he's not in front of his players or like other people, is like he does a really good job showing the turmoil he's dealing with.
Yeah, like it shows like the different aspects to him. And this was like prime Denzel. This was like early 2000s, like everything he was in.
This was 2000.
But also, I really like the support. I've always liked the supporting actors in that one too. Like, I mean, we have a very young Ryan Gosling. Ethan
Suplee. He's the
big guy. He's honestly I mean, and Will Patton especially. absolutely. Like, I love Will Patton in this movie.
He will not gain another yard. Hayden Panettiere. I mean, it's just overall very solid kind of B-list cast underneath Denzel.
Yeah, it's a lot of like guys who did like TV later, stuff like that. But like, yeah, they all do an excellent job. And then of course, yeah, Denzel is the headliner.
Got Donald Faison, Wood Harris. I mean,
that was Ryan Hurst. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he ended up doing Sons of Anarchy for a long time. But yeah, I did not recognize him.
It's like going back and finding any old movie, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what the hell is he doing in this film?
Oh, and Wood Harris. That's right. Oh, yeah. This is a great, like, who did The Wire, like, right after this. This is a really good, like, TV cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I remember watching it as a kid, and, like, I've seen it multiple times since then. It's kind of, like, endlessly watchable because it kind of captures all that so well, and, like, it's just a really well-paced movie, too.
And it deals with the issues, but it also deals with football really well, too.
Yeah, I think, yeah, as we said, like, that kind of what gets lost in some of the other ones is, like, they don't really know how to do the football part, because I think one movie that like I'm a little more mixed on, because like it does some stuff well, but Any Given Sunday is very famous for like, especially the Al Pacino speech, all that stuff, but like it tries to show like the darker part of it, but like the actual football stuff is so exaggerated, it's like it doesn't really work.
Yeah, I've only seen parts of Any Given Sunday. I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen the football stuff, and the football stuff's pretty good when it's not too out crazy.
Yeah, some of it just gets like way too far over the top.
Let's see here. You got Varsity Blues. That's a good one. That has a very surprising cast when you look at it too.
Yeah, I also remember that was also the 2000s that I remember enjoying was We Are Marshall.
It's a good one.
Yeah, again, that's one that like the football scenes are but like it's just like an interesting story, like an interesting true story that happened, and it's like very interesting exploring that.
Oh.
But I think for me, like the one that I don't know as far as the movies which one is better, but I know the TV show for this is my favorite football piece of media, and that's Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. But I think, the movie gets like the football scenes really down, and it's like, spoiler alert, but like what I like is that they don't win.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting. And I think, kind of like Remember the Titans, it captures like the feel of the school and the city. But I think the show more than anything, I mean, is just perfect with that. Like the characters are all great. It shows like Remember the Titans, it shows, the coach's life on and off the field, and the players, same thing. But like the football scenes in the show are like consistently varied and really good.
Mm-hmm. I do remember one scene particular in like the final game where like I think it's the opposing team throws the ball, it skips on the ground and goes to the receiver's hand, the ref calls it a catch. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the classic NFL right there.
That's the replacement refs.
One that only came out like 7 years ago that I remember seeing a trailer for, but I didn't watch it till I caught it on TV one day, and it's the games When the Game Stands Tall. It's got Alex Ludwig in it, Michael Chiklis, Laura Dern, Clancy Brown, a lot of other unknown cast members. It's about a high school team that like their whole team hadn't lost. They had 151 consecutive victories and 12 state championships, and then they finally lost a game, and it's just basically going off of that and how these kids are dealing with, like, they had high expectations and they finally lost, and they're like, are we not worthy to be in that group of other classes that came before us and everything? That one does a really good job with the football too, and basically the teamwork and everything. Especially there's like one game where because in high school typically you can play both ways. There's one game where it's like 100 some degrees on the field, and they're like, they have to slowly rotate their lesser players out on the field to be like, hey, you guys need to help us win because these guys cannot die on the field.
Yeah, but there are also some, I think, because there are just so many football. I talked about kind of like some that go too far into like the cheesy inspirational. I mean, I'm sure Disney's Safety is a very hard-hitting story, which came out recently.
I wanted to watch that, but I was kind of like, I didn't know. I was like, I think it's based on a true story, ain't it?
I think so, yeah. That's usually where they get, like, Invincible was all right, but there are some that are just, like, really cheesy. But I think there are some, like, The Blind Side, that was a big Oscar movie, but I think...
That's... honestly, I don't know how they decided that was an Oscar movie. The story is great, but the movie is shit.
Yeah, I mean, because even the player in question, who the movie's about, has come out and said, like, yeah, this movie sucks. This movie's kind of racist. But yeah, Michael Orr. Yeah, I forgot his name. Yeah, Michael Orr. Yeah. So it was a bit
like
confusing.
An oar in a boat. It's a line from the movie.
Oh, it is. Oh my God. See, I completely forgot that. I thought you were making the worst pun I've ever heard, but no, someone actually wrote that and put it in the script for an Oscar-nominated movie.
An Oscar-winning actress said, and she won an Oscar for it. Because she won the Oscar that year, didn't she?
Yeah, she won that and the Razzie on the same day for different movies. But I think, yeah, that one just like is just like too much. And yeah, the football season, that ones certainly aren't any good. Another one I always think of too, just like there really aren't football scenes in this movie, but this one could have been very good, and that's Draft Day.
Such a missed opportunity. This is one of the biggest days of the year for NFL fans, and you fucked it up.
Yeah, like that. There are ways to make it very exciting. It's just like so unrealistic. Like they wanted to look like this giant mastermind just pulling off 800 moves, but the moves he makes are so stupid.
Okay.
And the reason,
hold on before you go much further.
All right.
Because I thought his draft moves were stupid too. Like, oh, I'm going to give up 3 first-round picks to move up to the first-round spot. Yeah, now you have the LA Rams giving up every draft pick they own, so they can't draft ever again for players. So, I mean, maybe it's not as far-fetched as we once thought, but...
Oh yeah, but like how he's like he moves up three picks to go to the first pick to take a quarterback, who then he decides not to take because no one went to his birthday party. So he takes a defender he could have gotten at 10, and then just like I know he moves back up again, like rips somebody off.
Yeah,
but
the
it's
Jaguars.
Like, yeah, but it's like he really doesn't end up making that many moves, and there are ways you could make it so much more interesting. Yeah, the dude passes on like Peyton Manning because no one went to his birthday party.
Well, the problem with this movie is the first act is good and the third act is good. The second act is complete garbage of him dealing with his girlfriend who's pregnant now, blah, 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 and the quarterback who's in the building for unknown reasons.
Yeah, it's like this is the off season.
It's like, why are you here? It's like, just doesn't make any sense.
And yeah, it's too bloated with that side stuff, or like, oh, him and the owner and the girlfriend and the this and that. And then also I think it's one of those weird instances where, you notice like amazing editing. You don't really notice like good solid editing, but you sure notice bad editing. And this movie with the side screens and sides, like it's so bad. Yeah. Like how they put 2 phone calls and they'll like stack the boxes, but it's not like 24 style where it's like good and interesting. It feels like he's like bleeding over into the other screen. It's very odd and distracting.
Well, and it's just like we spend the whole day like him discussing stuff about the quarterback that they traded 3 picks for that they're going to get, and they're like, well, maybe we're not doing that anymore. We're completely changing our draft board. And it's just like, there's no way this would happen. Like they have their draft board set in stone. They're all ready. Like, sure, things can happen, but it's just like they're all like scrambling, like, oh, well, this changes everything. It's like, I mean, does it? You don't have 3 picks now, so it's like.
Yeah, I think they should have been like it could have been good with like more actual, like if he did all those maneuvers on the actual draft day, or like something comes out about a player that nobody knew about, which we've seen happen multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, was it Laramie Tunzel with the bong video? It's like you could have started the day like an hour before draft, and then like had the entire movie take place during like the first round. Like things are going different. Like we got to change things up.
Yeah, I mean you could do it real time because then you like feel the pressure too. I think that would also, and there's so many ways they could have done this. And honestly, I think one of the things that killed them too is the NFL sponsorship.
Well, that's the problem.
Like
the NFL's like,
sponsor.
It's like, you can't make us look bad. It's like, why not?
That's hard. It's hard not to make you look bad.
Well, then the other thing is, like, he's talking to the defensive player throughout the draft, throughout the day, too. It's like, would they really be talking that much?
Right. It's like they get, like, a couple interviews total throughout the whole process. But, they're going to be talking to other teams, too. Like, and they got workouts and stuff. Like, doesn't really work like that.
And overall, just like it's such a disappointing movie. I remember seeing it and I was just like, well, all the good stuff's at the end and it's not even that logical.
But I think that just like, I think there are two things that can really tank a football movie, and it's one, like not understanding anything about the sport, but you can even overcome that if it's just like the story behind it is so good that those scenes are just a supplement. Because I think like Rudy is one that's very famous and very good. I don't know, like honestly don't remember anything about the actual football of Rudy.
Yeah, I don't really either.
Yeah, I just remember it's a good movie because of the story that's behind it. Like the football is kind of like secondary in a sense because it's about him. And I think if you fail on both those counts, then it's kind of like, you're just trying to pull at heartstrings, or, you're trying to just be, here's a football movie.
A movie that has, and I'm not going to say it's great football scenes, but like The Express, I think is a good example where it does enough where it also has the story behind it.
Yeah. I honestly have not seen that one yet. I do know like the person it's about, but I have not actually seen the movie. I remember when it came out.
I would recommend it. It's one of my favorite ones to go back to and watch. For those who don't know, The Express is basically about the first black player to win the Heisman Trophy and how he dealt with a disease later in life that ultimately killed him before he could make it to the NFL.
Yeah, that's got a good cast too.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid, Rob Brown. It's funny now. I'm seeing two football movies where Chadwick Boseman's in it.
Yeah, and Clancy Brown seems to be in a bunch of these too.
Clancy Brown's like the perfect like assistant coach kind of character.
Yeah, he's like born to be a defensive coordinator,
or even like an O-lines coach.
Oh yeah.
Here's one I thought like they did the football scenes pretty good, was like the Gridiron Gang. They didn't make it look as easy as like, these players are so good they could just go out there and throw the ball around and win games. Because like
you just try really hard.
Because they like practice for like 2 weeks or whatever. They've never played a game and they like get blown out, and the quarterback doesn't know how to read the defense and throws like 3 picks. It's like, yeah, that would happen.
Yeah, that's the other thing they kind of often fail in, is it's really like not about the strategy usually, and that's why like I thought Draft Day had potential but didn't reach it, because it's like they don't get into the strategy. A lot of times it's like, if you just try harder than the other team.
I don't think there is a football movie that really gets into like schemes and stuff and strategy,
I don't think so either.
Which is a really disappointment because that's such a big part of football in general.
Yeah, I think that would be like interesting to see, and I haven't seen them do it because it is like more about scheme than it's like, everybody wonders, or like so many like general fans don't get, like, how is Tom Brady so good? Yeah, he can't throw it. He can't 360 no scope from 60 yards like Mahomes. But like
he can't do that much this year either.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like, and he's certainly not fast. But yeah, it's just because like he understands everything that's going on. So that's why he's so good.
Yeah, he knows how to read the defense. He knows where he studies film day and night.
Yes, I think that's really what doesn't get captured. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But I do think football movies certainly do better, at least. There are more of them that do better with the on-the-field scenes than on-the-court scenes in basketball movies, because I don't think I've seen a single basketball movie with good basketball scenes.
The one I thought did probably the best job they've done is Coach Carter.
That's fair. That is a good movie.
Just because they kind of do the whole fast-paced kind of filming there. It's just like you feel like you're on the floor moving up and down the court with them.
Yeah. And you get Sam Jackson, which, I mean, this was also prime Sam Jackson.
Yeah, he was great in that movie.
Oh, he's fantastic. Of course, how can we forget the greatest basketball film, Semi-Pro?
Now, here's where we get to where it's kind of like what makes a good sports movie. I wouldn't call it a great movie, but it's a lot of fun. It's funny. Got Will Ferrell playing basketball. Will Ferrell went on a run where it's like, I'm going to make a comedy movie based on like every sport.
Yeah, we had NASCAR with Talladega Nights, a masterpiece, Semi-Pro.
Blades of Glory.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I knew there was another one, Blades of Glory.
But see, even though this one's kind of a joke one, but it's kind of also kind of a good one because it kind of shows like they need a market, they need to scheme plays and everything.
Yeah, it can't just be, give it to the owner, player, coach, or alley-oop it to their best player. Well, they invent the alley-oop later, but just give it to their best player. Like, they have to actually like work as a team and scheme. And yeah, like, I actually think they do a good job with the characters, like Woody Harrelson's character who gets traded for a washing machine, who's like no good anymore. Like, just like what he brings to the team and leadership and scheme is interesting.
And coach.
I think it actually, like, it's very funny. Like, I always remember the funny moments, but it is like sneakily kind of like an actually really good sports movie underneath that too.
Mm-hmm. Just with very good comedic elements sprinkled throughout it. And there's not a lot of good basketball movies.
No, yeah, most of them really are not good, especially the basketball scenes, because of course they all end on a buzzer beater. None of them look like they've ever, well, with these couple exceptions, like there's no plays. It's just dribble, shoot.
Pass it to the Italians.
I think honestly, of like the major sports, somehow, I guess, well, golf hasn't really produced anything other than Happy Gilmore, but I feel like basketball has, like, of the really intense sports, has produced the worst movies.
Yeah, I'm looking through the list, and I'm like not seeing anything of, like, I see like it's like mostly comedy ones.
Yeah,
I see like Rebound with Martin Lawrence, Air Bud. I know I wanted
the greatest player ever.
There's no rule saying the dog cannot play basketball.
Yeah, there's really not like because I mean, in TV, for documentary, there's The Last Dance, which is like incredible, but there's no like Last Dance level like scripted film for basketball.
Yeah,
the way for like football, you can find like multiple that are like really great movies.
I know. I've wanted to see The Way Back, that Ben Affleck one. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, that's supposed to be.
I heard good things about it.
To be fair, the one I have never seen that's supposed to be like a legitimately classic film, I've never seen Hoosiers.
Neither have I.
Yeah, see, so I feel like a failure having not seen that movie now. But like that's supposed to be like the one basketball one that's very good.
Like Mike 1 and 2.
Space Jam, the documentary about how
get some Disney Channel original movies, Double Teamed and Luck of the Irish.
How can we forget the fact that High School Musical is just as much a basketball movie as it is a musical?
Yeah, but they even really like play like a full game. It's mostly like, oh, shot the winning basket. Okay, I gotta run out.
Yeah, it's like, I think there's like that quick one at the end, and there's like practice.
You get more basketball in Space Jam than you get. White Man Can't Jump. That's a good movie, but I mean, it's not really like full court. It's like 2-on-2 basketball, not really.
Yeah, because we have there's also He Got Game, but that's also not really like full games either.
I've never seen Teen Wolf, so I can't comment on that one.
That's also just like at the end. I've never seen it. I think he plays basketball as a wolf.
Yeah.
And dunks.
That's about all I know about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I don't know how much basketball is actually in it. There's a lot of rom-com ones too, it looks like. Well, if everyone's out there complaining that we didn't talk about certain basketball movies, like, I'm not seeing anything that's like really like, ooh.
Yeah, if there's something we missed, please let us know, because I would love to actually see a good basketball movie.
Yeah. Going back to your golf one, there's a couple golf movies that I rather enjoy, like The Greatest Game Ever Played, the early 2005 movie with Shia LaBeouf. I enjoy that one a lot. That one was actually directed by who directed that? Guy who's in
Bill Paxton.
Yeah, that I was kind of shocked when I'm like, oh, he directed this.
Yeah, I vaguely remember when that came out. Like, this looks interesting.
One of my,
because I know for golf, mostly like, reason.
I think it does a very good job with the golfing and everything.
Yeah, because I think for some reason, like, the ones I think of right away for golf, as we kind of talked about, there are some comedies with basketball. The two big ones I think of right away for golf are both comedies, which is Happy Gilmore and Caddyshack. Yeah,
which Caddyshack is great. Did you not see it, or did you not like it?
I didn't like it.
Okay. I can't remember. I'm like,
hate it.
Yeah.
It was like, all right. I watched it. Yeah, I watched it in like high school. Yeah, I think I brought that up once or twice. Yeah, that like Caddyshack was just kind of
like I said, I kind of remember if you didn't like it, or which I get it. I mean, it's kind of a certain kind of cup of tea at times. I can understand why you wouldn't care for it too much.
Yeah, I love all the Bill Murray stuff. Bill Murray absolutely carries that movie.
I've seen parts of The Legend of Bagger Vance, but I don't know too much about it. I know there's a golf movie that's not showing up when I search it.
Can I count Goldfinger?
I mean, why not?
That's honestly my favorite golf scene of any movie. But,
yeah, when he's like can't find his ball and
yeah, he swaps it out.
Yes, I've seen this one. It's got Gary Sinise and like nobody else I know. It's called A Gentleman's Game. Basically about a young boy kind of growing up and wanting to be a golfer and everything. I'm not gonna say it's great, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Guy got that thing where it's just like he's not as rich as everyone else's daddies or whatever at the golf club. So I think we could get into some of the big movies and some boxing movies.
Yeah, I think in terms of like...
Now here you could find like the pristine... Like for a sport I cared nothing about, I love boxing movies.
Yeah, I used to like enjoy some like, boxing, like classic ones, like back when ESPN Classic was a thing. It's like I have like some vague interest in it, but the movies, like you say, yeah, the movies are like not just like are they great sports movies? Like multiple of these are like some of the greatest movies ever made of any kind. I just like absolute classic films and boxing movies, and I think like part of it maybe is just like it translates so well to movie making because it's like physical. They're actually punching each other. There's fighting. But like
it's a lot easier to shoot just in general.
Yeah, and they've just been shot so many different ways. Like, and the big ones, like I mean, you gotta talk about Rocky. I mean, Rocky is like the underdog story everybody talks about, gets referenced all the time. That's an absolute classic movie, won Best Picture. Like,
well, going off of Rocky, you get Creed, which the first Creed movie has some of the best boxing scenes, one takes that you'll see in a movie.
Yeah, that first fight scene, one take, is absolutely incredible. That's a fantastic movie.
I mean, I was like, okay, how are we going to kind of go from Rocky to Creed? What's his name? Cooper.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the director, but his just like his willingness to do like a one shot on that first fight. I'm like, you are making your film stand out, and it's great.
Yeah, and it really does it does such a great job of building.
Oh, Ryan Coogler,
him up as
Cooper.
A character. Oh, yeah. But yeah, just the way it builds him up as a character, and then you get that build up to the first fight, and then for it to be a one take executed at that level, you're just like fully invested in the film, and like it just stands out right away.
And you got
I think the Rocky films have survived for so long. Like,
well, it's funny you watch kind of the progression of the Rocky films. You start out as a Best Picture winner, good story and everything, and then they just slowly kind of go more crazy till you get to 4, and then you're like,
can change.
You can change.
Everybody can change.
You got the montage movie of that to falling off the cliff with Rocky 5, coming back somehow with Rocky Balboa, and then you get a spin-off with the Creed series, which Creed 2 is... It's a good movie. I don't think it's as good as Creed 1, and I'm a little worried about how Creed 3 will be, considering I think Michael B. Jordan's directing it, and I'm like, first film directing, I don't know.
Yeah, that can be
like hit or miss right there.
But I think they do kind of feel like they're taking the same path of like the original Rocky movies, because Creed was also like an Oscar contending movie. Like I think Sylvester Stallone was up. I can't remember if it got screenplay or if that nomination or if that was just at the Golden Globes, but like it got it got a good amount of awards buzz, like the original did.
Mm-hmm. I still think what's his name should have won. Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, he was excellent.
Only got nominated for 1 Oscar, and that was Sly. That should have been nominated for more.
Yeah, kind of surprised it wasn't. I must be thinking of, did it get... No, I was wrong. I thought it got something at the Globes, but I was wrong.
No, it's only nominees was Oscar for supporting role Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, I think for me, like, the ultimate boxing... For me, this is just like one of the best films of all time. And that's Raging Bull from Martin Scorsese. And this film, like, is kind of the, like, anti-sports movie. Like, we're talking about so many inspirational movies. And this movie is about someone who's actually like a terrible person, and that is what fuels his boxing career, but also like basically makes him implode eventually.
Yeah,
it's also unique, like the way he shot it, and in black and white, and like they use like chocolate syrup for the blood, and like to make it show up well on black and white, and just like the way they film it, or the way he filmed it, is like very kind of surreal and interesting.
Yeah, this is one I still gotta see, but I think I know the gist of this story pretty much, which makes me mad I still haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It's very unique in sports movies. It's just a great film in general. It's got, a lot of what you would expect from Scorsese and a lot of great themes, unsympathetic lead that's very interesting. And yeah, just seeing kind of his rise and fall all through the boxing. And the boxing scenes themselves are very legendary and very interestingly shot and very, very violent. I mean, Scorsese.
One I enjoy is The Fighter, the David O. Russell movie with Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale.
That one gets overlooked a lot. I remember seeing that around when it came out, and I was very impressed with it. And that was also another one that was an awards movie.
I think that's kind of because O. Russell movies have kind of gotten overrated. Last two films have gotten like Oscar praise, where it's just this is just an okay movie.
Yeah. And I think it was also just the year it came out was just so stacked, because this came out in 2010, which is, that was one of the most stacked years ever. So people forget that this movie was up for Best Picture, and it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role, Actress in a Supporting Role, which those two won. Best Actress, Best Directing, Best Film Editing, Best Original Score or Screenplay. So I got quite a few nominations. Yeah,
I think it really needs more recognition as a film, because what always gets talked about is Christian Bale and the weight he lost and the fact that he won the Oscar. But there's so much more to it.
There's so much more to his character than just him losing weight. His character is just great.
Yeah, and Mark Wahlberg is very good in it too, I think. And I think just the story, it's another one that's a little bit different than your average sports movie.
I've come to kind of realize if your movie is good and it has Mark Wahlberg as a star, you're a good director, because you're making him look good. There's so many movies where it's he is so hit or miss.
Yeah, he is gonna be Mark Wahlberg, and you have to use him correctly. Because it'll come off as really bad, like The Happening, or you can get Boogie Nights or The Fighter or The Departed, out of him.
Well, that's why I'm so pissed off with Uncharted. It's just he was cast as Sully, and it's just he's not Sully. He's just Mark Wahlberg in this movie, and I'm ugh, why?
Yeah, that's just not. Yeah, that's not putting him in a good position. What his thing is. He's really not going to go outside of that, which is fine.
Here's one that I wish would get a sequel, but I don't think it's happening anytime soon. That's Real Steel.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that one when it came out. I haven't seen that one.
You should check it out. It's actually a really good movie. But I just remember watching the trailer and everyone, your first initial thought is really Rock'em Sock'em Robots, giant size. And then you watch the movie and you're just it's actually a very heartwarming story about Hugh Jackman trying to connect with his son that he's not been a part of in his life. And it's just and the boxing fights with the robots actually are a lot of fun and really cool. And because the robots can have so many different abilities and everything, it kind of adds a different dynamic to it. Going in, I had no expectations when I watched this, but I came out, I'm that was really good. I would love a sequel, but it's been so long.
Hasn't gotten.
And I think they've even some of the director and cast have talked there was an idea, but it just never happened. So,
and I almost forgot about this. How could I forget about this movie? There's just so many boxing movies. But speaking of ones that won Best Picture or were up for awards, $1 Million Baby is a legendary movie, that winner of Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, and that one is just, if you don't want to be sad, don't watch this movie. This is one of the saddest movies ever made. You will see it on every list, but it's absolutely incredible and must-watch movie that, again, we talked about with the other boxing ones, delivers something different. That's it's an inspirational story. It's an underdog story that also ends up being really sad.
Yeah.
So that's one. Hilary Swank definitely earned that Best Actress, and yeah, it's one of the best Clint Eastwood films.
I was gonna say it's up there for Clint. It's when Clint goes full out, it's he's one of the best.
Yeah, he's really I feel we think of him as an actor, or just now he's directing so many movies that have been hit or miss lately, but he's got a handful of all-time classics as a director, and that's one of them for sure.
Here's a little spin-off from, it's not a boxing movie, but an MMA fight movie, The Warrior. This movie,
I still have to see that one.
This movie you have to see. This one is great. I mean, I heard people talk good things about it, and I was just like, okay, I'll check it out. And I was like blown away. Got a great performance by Nick Nolte. Like, he should have been nominated for something this year. Frank Grillo, one of the first things I saw him in, very much playing Frank Grillo. But Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy just also steal the show. Like, Tom Hardy's like huge. Like, I think this was like
Bane Tom Hardy.
yeah, like I think he was preparing for Bane at this point. It's like you just kind of see him throughout the movie, and you just all of a sudden you like his shoulders are so freaking broad. You're like, holy crap, dude. See, is there any other boxing movies? Like, there's so many boxing movies. Southpaw, I haven't seen yet, but that kind of looked generic, kind of thing.
Yeah, I know there's even like older ones that I haven't seen, but that have elements of boxing, like The Harder They Fall, which is the Humphrey Bogart's last film in like the 50s. So I mean, they've been doing boxing films for a long time.
I know, you just look boxing movies and like all these things pop up. You're like, holy crap. I mean, I haven't seen this one, but like Bronson, another Tom Hardy boxing movie.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, it's just like they're the easiest to make in like to translate to films, or like filmmakers know how to do them better versus like the knowledge you need for other sports, because it's very close to just like fight scenes in a movie.
Yeah, boxing's, I mean, not to discredit boxing or anything, but it's like hit the other guy, but try not to get hit and knock him out.
Right, yeah, it's like it's simple.
I mean, I get it, there's strategy, but
but
there's like not as much strategy as like for basketball or football. But I could be wrong too, so if anyone wants to bitch at me for that, I will gladly accept it, because like I said, I'm not a huge boxing fan, but I do love boxing movies. Ali with Will Smith, never seen that, but
yeah, I still have to see that one too.
I think I talked about all the boxing movies I've seen. Snake Eyes, not a boxing movie, but okay. Guess we could move on to Americans' pastime with baseball movies.
Yeah, and like we talked about with, like you said, with boxing, I don't watch baseball like at all, but there are still like multiple baseball movies I like. I mean, for me, like the obvious one, I love Moneyball.
Oh yeah,
that's a fantastic film. And like we talked about with football, this movie is what I wish they would make for football, because it's all about like the scouting, the stats, the maneuvering. I mean, I always think of the trade deadline scene where he's trying to negotiate with teams on the phone, and like it's captivating in a way that you don't need to have like this deep understanding of baseball, because it'll give it to you, and it'll also just make the events interesting. And it's very by the numbers, technically correct, while it's still being very tense and entertaining.
We also get like him having to cut players, move stuff around. It gives you more of the front office view of a sports rather than just a sport.
Right. It's just very like straightforward, by the numbers, not exaggerated, like just very like
logistical
and by the book.
Yeah, and as long as any football movie gets promoted with the NFL, you're never gonna get that with football. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it with the way they operate, it'll happen. Yeah, just the dialogue in that movie is just incredible. And yeah, that's why it was up for so many awards. And it's an excellent movie regardless of if you watch baseball.
Got 42 with Chadwick Boseman. That one's okay. I'm not going to say it's great. But for what it is, about the life story of Jackie Robinson coming up to be the first black player to play in the MLB, that was all right.
Yeah. I still haven't seen this one, but Field of Dreams gets talked about a lot.
Yeah, I've seen parts of it, but I've never seen all of it. The Rookie, the Dennis Quaid, where he's an old man trying out to be a player again. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, nothing spectacular, but it was a lot of fun. This one, it's not great, but Trouble with the Curve. It's got Clint Eastwood and Amy Adams. Basically, it shows kind of like the scouting process of baseball, where they go around and scout all these players that their team's going to draft or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. That seems interesting.
It's a little corny at times, especially because basically it's saying like you need to go there, watch the player, where I think it's, what's the actor's name? Matthew Lillard's character is basically like, I look at the screen, I see the stats, he's bona fide number one pick or whatever, but then he has like trouble hitting a curveball. And there's a lot of For baseball, there's a lot of comedies.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, Sandlot, obviously. I've seen a few other ones. Like, it also seems to lend itself to, like, comedy movies.
Yes, Sandlot's great. Angels in the Outfield, that was always a good one. It's amazing that was Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a kid, and Matthew McConaughey's in there. So is Adrian Brody. Holy crap. I forgot about him. Then you got Major League, probably one of the best sports comedy movies.
This is why Google is sometimes not reliable. When I look up best sports comedies and I, Tonya comes up.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, that's one I still really want to see. I think they're like an interesting, because we talked about Blades of Glory, and then there's I, Tonya. Like, there are a few skating ones that are actually like quite good.
Dodgeball is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Good cross country one. McFarlane USA. Here's a theme going with sports movies, which you got Kevin Costner in them.
Oh yeah, especially any 90s one.
Well, this is like a 2015 one, but basically plays a coach that got fired from his job because he got too handsy with a football player because they got into an argument. So then he has to go down to, I forget where, but it's like all Latino high school in California, and then he trains all these players to run cross country and helps them win the state cross country contest to get into college and everything, get scholarships.
Yeah, no, the one I always think about, we briefly brought it up earlier for sports comedies, but I mean, Talladega Nights is one of the best comedy, for me, it's like one of my favorite comedy movies ever.
Yeah.
And it's just you can quote almost any line from that movie.
The best movie ever made.
Dear little 8-pound, 4-ounce little baby, infant baby Jesus.
You can be Magic Man, you can be Magic Man, and I'll be El Diablo. What does that mean? Yeah. It's like a fighting chicken or something. Another racing movie that's really good. One of the few times that Ron Howard is not just okay, but like Rush with...
I still need to see that movie.
It's actually a really good movie. Like I said, for it's not quite Apollo 13 Ron Howard, but it's just like a tier below. It's got Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl. They're great.
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of like quality racing movies like that. I mean, the most recent one that was up for awards was Ford v Ferrari, which like I think was made made by a panel of dads, because that is like the quintessential dad movie.
Still want to see that. It's good. Days of Thunder.
Yeah, that's a big one.
This be considered a sports movie, I guess. Racing Stripes.
I was gonna ask. I wonder, can we count the first Fast and Furious?
No, that's too busy trying to steal VCRs or whatever.
Family.
But speaking of like Racing Stripes, another like horse race movie, Seabiscuit, I think is actually a pretty good movie too.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. I think I've seen it. I don't remember I think I saw it when I was younger.
Yeah, it's got a cast. You're like, wow, it's who's all in it?
Yeah, Jeff Bridges,
Tobey Maguire, Chris Cooper, Elizabeth Banks. Like that had a stacked cast too.
This is up for Best Picture. I did not know that.
Oh really?
Yeah, man, it lost that was the year of Return of the King, so it didn't win anything, but
got a participation trophy.
Yeah.
Oh, got nominated 7 times. Huh. I didn't think it was like that great, but okay. Getting a lot of animated racing movies. There's
every elementary kid's favorite movie, Cars. So they can sell that merch.
And there's planes. And I'm waiting for my submarine movie. Trying to think, is there any other unique sports movie out there?
I can't really think of any soccer movies I've seen either, because I know there's like Invictus and a few other ones that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I've never seen them. They say there's kicking and screaming. I know that.
Well, this is for hockey, but I mean everybody knows the Mighty Ducks.
Well, there's Miracle, which is a good movie. There's Goon. I've heard good things about. I want to see because I've heard such good things about it. Yeah, Mighty Ducks. Let's let the alcoholic drunk driver teach kids how to play hockey.
Yeah, honestly, he's a terrible, terrible coach. I don't know why. Oh, does this count as a sport? Because this lists as sports movies, but does pool count as a sport, or is that more of a game?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they air it on ESPN, so would that be considered a sport? You do bowling, too.
Does ESPN air sports anymore? Yeah, some seem to consider this because, then I'll say The Hustler is an amazing movie. That is an amazing movie. With Paul Newman, legendary performance, legendary movie. Fantastic watch film from the 60s about a really good pool player who, with really bad habits as far as betting, and just, his ups and downs.
Can we include poker in these movies then, too?
I think they air that on ESPN too.
Well, I just say that because I think of the LA Rams just tweeted out like, we're all in, and it shows the movie from Rounders. And it's like, you know how that good movie goes, right? He loses in the end.
Yeah, and they've lost 2 straight since then.
Mm-hmm. If we're including bowling too, we got Kingpin. It's a fun movie. Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
There's quite a bit of bowling when you think about it in that movie.
Yeah, honestly, they spent like a big chunk of the movie at the alley.
See, now we're getting into the nitty gritties of sports movies. Considering you had the big ones like NFL, like football movies and boxing, and now it's kind of like we're kind of dwindling on actual movies.
Yeah, it's like the line kind of starts to blur a little bit. There's certainly like lots of movies that have sports scenes in them, or like ones that are like loosely, is this a sport?
Well, that's the other thing is like you got these movies that have sports scenes in them, but do they actually matter? Right,
like you'll see a lot of old films because this was the big one with like a horse racing scene, like they're at the betting tracks. Hey, if we were a few hundred or aka a few thousand years ago, Gladiator would be a sports movie.
Now that's a good movie. Yeah, it would be. I think you could technically still consider it.
Let's call it a sports movie.
It's a sports movie.
David's not going to be happy when he comes back and sees that we've talked about Gladiator in our sports movie podcast, but you know what? We're going to do it anyway.
It is a sports movie. They're here to entertain us.
And I am entertained.
Here's one, Eddie the Eagle, because I'm starting to look down to, that's the one with Hugh Jackman and, what's the kid's name? Taron Egerton. He's basically a ski jumper. That one's a good movie. See, that's all you had to do is just look up sports biopics, and then all of a sudden you're getting them. There's a tennis movie, Borg versus McEnroe. That's with Shia LaBeouf. I haven't seen it. Says it's good, though. Oh.
Yeah, I think all of it kind of proves just like, there's so many varieties, not just in terms of like the sport, but like there are so many ways that sports films are made, or like there are so many different, like we talked about the inspirational ones. There are dark ones. There are ones where the sport is like secondary to the character. There are ones where there's only a few scenes of it. There are ones where most of it is scenes of the sport. Like there are really a lot of different ways to do it.
Well, that's like talking about basketball movies. It's some of the movies I could probably talk about, but it's like basketball like has nothing to do with this movie. It's just like in there for a couple of scenes, and it's like I don't really consider that a basketball movie. Just it's basketball scenes in a movie.
Right.
But since we're kind of winding down on movies that we can find that are good and we know of, what makes a good sports movie for you?
See, I think for me, like it does have to have like a good chunk of it being around the sport for it to be like defined as one. But I think what makes it good is really all about like with any film, like how are is the central plot interesting? Is the central character like someone I want to follow? And like, does the sport contribute to that, or like their arc in a meaningful way? Mm-hmm. And like the added bonus is, like especially with like the ones I really care about, like football, it's like, is there at least some stuff in there that I'm like, oh, you shot the sports scene really well, it's interesting, and like it's fairly accurate.
Yeah, I think for like basketball and football movies, like if you shoot the actual sport action somewhat good, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt with like the rest of the movie.
Yeah, because it's hard to do, but it's like not enough of them think of it like you're filming a giant action scene. It's like if you have that level of choreography and it doesn't look like they're jogging in slow motion,
which is why like they dropped another trailer for like the Kurt Warner movie, and it's just like I watch it and the action looks so bad, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, with those, it looks like a commercial. It looks like they're moving in slow motion, like they're just walking. It's like you got to put some effort into it.
It's like with what movie did I see in here? It's the Adam Sandler one where he's in jail.
The
Longest Yard.
Longest Yard, yeah, because there's two of those.
Like some of that action, like they look like they're actually killing each other and hitting each other hard. It's like, yeah, that's kind of like what you want to see.
Yeah.
One of my kind of like favorite things, actually, like some of my favorite movies are like when the team that you're following or the person you're following actually loses in the end, because it's like a lot of about sports is losing at the big time.
Right. I always enjoy that because, yeah, it also allows you to do something different, like thematically. Like, oh, what if they don't win? Like, what point do you get across then? Versus, like, the predictable, like, oh, they're down at the end of the game, but they have a chance to score. I know they're going to win. Oh, look, they did it.
Well, like, even we talked about my favorite football movie and Remember the Titans is like the last game of the season. It's like it comes down to the last play, and it's like you read up on the history. It's like, no, they actually like blew that team out. Like, couldn't we have just gotten that?
Yeah.
And like, I know there's no tension, but it's like he had enough tension throughout the season, whether getting his fired for just losing one game, and you're like, well, what if he just blew out the opponent in the championship?
Yeah.
Now, see, like here, I'm looking, and it says we didn't talk about this movie because I don't really consider it a sports movie, and that's Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, see, that's one I feel like, yeah, it's so secondary to it because, yeah, it's about like an agent. So, like, I really, don't know. It takes place around sports, but I don't know if I would call it one.
See, now, if it dealt with more with like Tom Cruise trying to get new, agents, or not agents, but like he became agents for other people besides just Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, and we spent less time with like Renee Zellweger and their romance, whatever, I consider more of a sports movie. But it spends so much time on those two and the relationships rather than on the sport and him doing his job of trying to get new clients and everything.
Yeah, so I feel like that one is like, you can make a case either way, but it's like, yeah, it's hard to consider it like a full sports movie.
I think as long as you have like a good characters and good action, I mean, I think you could be very successful at making a sports movie.
Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to, and yeah, trying to in some fashion like capture the tension of that sport, like why we watch it live, why we watch the sport, kind of capturing some of that enough to make it to assist the rest of the story. I don't know if I wish Dave was here because I don't know if you've seen this movie, but I just was scrolling through some more sports movies, but Balls of Fury. I have actually seen that movie.
Okay, cool. I know me and David have talked about how ridiculous and fun and stupid that movie is.
I barely remember it. It's one of those movies that, we talk about this with David all the time too, like the movies that it's like, was that real? Like, did I watch that movie or did I like dream this movie or make it up? And for me, that's Balls of Fury.
Yeah, this is definitely a movie.
I'm like, I did watch this.
This is definitely a movie where you're like, was I dreaming or high or what?
But yeah, I think I watched that in like middle school or something. Yeah, I vaguely remember it being absolutely absurd.
Yeah, so like I said, basically for sports movies, as long as I have a good time and I'm not bored, I typically enjoy them. Yeah, you got the certain ones that are like top level, like the boxing ones that are like pristine.
Yeah, for me as well, if I'm not rolling my eyes, that helps. Because there are too many that I do, but if I'm not doing that and I'm engaged in it, then I think it's succeeded.
Yeah, you never want to roll your eyes.
All right, and with that, I think we're just about wrapped up here. We've reached the buzzer. Fourth quarter's over. And then no last buzzer beaters here to throw in.
Nope, we dominated the entire time.
Like what actually happens at least half the time.
Or some of the time.
So, for Justin Neitzel and David Yanish, who is not here and may or may not listen, hopefully he does so he can see how close Dune is to beating Tenet. But we are out of time for this episode, so we will see you next time on Idiot Plot.
Thanks for listening to Idiot Plot. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get a notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, follow us on Facebook and Letterbox. The links are in the description.